In this video, I'd like to show you how to turn a piece of paper into an isometric grid using paper folding. So an isometric grid is a really great resource, and you can print out isometric dot paper like this one here. You can also find a lined version as well. But I'm going to show you how to make an isometric grid just by using paper folding. So I'm using a US letter sized sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. So the first fold is to fold your paper in half vertically, right down the center. And you want to make all your folds nice and crisp. So run over them with your fingernail, or if you have something like an origami bone, you can use that as well, or a pen or something like that, just to smooth out your folds. Okay. Now the next fold I picked up from Paula Krieg, who taught me how to fold an equilateral triangle from a piece of paper. So imagine that this vertical fold is the perpendicular bisector of the base of an equilateral triangle with a side length equal to the width of my paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the bottom right hand corner and bring it up onto that middle center fold, but you want to get a nice sharp point through the bottom left corner of your paper. And keep adjusting it until you get that corner on that middle fold and you get a nice crisp point through that bottom left corner. All right, so that looks pretty good there. I'm on that center fold up there, and I've got a nice point down here in the bottom left. So if you were to try to create an equilateral triangle, you could just take a straight edge and draw a line here along the edge of this flap, or you could take your scissors and cut along that flap there. Then we're going to do the same thing by bringing the bottom left-hand corner up onto the fold, that center midline fold, and get a nice point through the bottom right corner. Now you'll notice that this first crease lines up nicely here, and you get a nice matching crease here. So look for those creases matching throughout this process. All right, so you can open that up. So this would be the centroid of your equilateral triangle. So if you went from the bottom right corner to the top right here, I'm just going to mark right here where the top of the triangle would be. So that would be the centroid of the equilateral triangle that you would cut out. Okay. Now all of the angles around this centroid are 60 degrees each, so that will begin forming the basis for our isometric grid. So next we need to take and fold in quarters vertically. So I'm just going to fold vertically into the middle like this, and from the left side. And open those up. Now you'll see two equilateral triangles here, so that is the beginnings of our isometric grid. So now I'm going to take the bottom right hand corner, I'm going to bring that up to meet this point of intersection between this vertical fold and this diagonal fold. You'll also notice that this crease here matches up with this crease here, so we can go ahead and line those up nicely and then crease it. And we'll do the same thing from the bottom left. All right, you see some more equilateral triangles being formed. Okay, so now we need to fold another parallel diagonal fold through this point of intersection here and through this point here where this meets the left edge of my paper. So to do that, I'm going to show you a little pro tip. Take this 30, 60, 90 triangle right here and fold that flap up. And then as you bring up, you want to almost use this leg of that 30, 60, 90 right triangle as like a ledge. And just sort of fold it over so that the hypotenuse of that 30, 60, 90 triangle aligns with the left edge of the paper. If you do that, then I know that this is going to be a nice parallel crease right here. So let's open up and take a look. Yeah, that came out good. It went right through that point of intersection there. All right, so now we're going to take the bottom right hand 3069 triangle, fold that over, and align the hypotenuse of that 30/60/90 flap with the right edge of my paper. Make sure it lines up nicely. And looks like I did pretty well there. All right, so now you really start to see this isometric grid beginning to take shape. So now what I will do is I will rotate my paper and now work from the opposite end. So now I need to get a parallel fold in this direction here through that point of intersection. And you'll notice that this fold here aligns with the other folds on the front of the paper. I want to make sure that this edge lines up with this crease right here. So you have all these wonderful points of intersection and these guidelines, right? This edge right here hits this point of intersection, and that will help me line up my paper before I make my crease. No measuring tools needed, so I went right through that point of intersection there, and then repeat on this side here. Okay, just a couple more folds to go. So if you just keep reinforcing the fact that these diagonal folds need to be parallel and equally spaced, use those folds to line up your paper before you commit. All right, and then there's one more little partial diagonal that I want to put down here. So I'm just going to make sure that this bottom left edge right here aligns with this diagonal fold here. So just like this. All right, so see how that lines up there. And the same thing again in the bottom right corner. Just make sure that this edge right here, the bottom right edge, aligns with this diagonal fold here. Okay, you get sort of an unfinished, like the point of intersection is actually off the paper. All right, but there you have it. There is an isometric grid from paper folding.